My dearest brothers and sisters, this is Tunia speaking. I love you so very much. A lot of people are scared or angry right now. This is very understandable. You are being put into a completely unfair and crushing situation. Many of you have friends or family who have died recently. Many of you have been abandoned by your friends or family, just for telling them the truth. Almost all you are seeing your living conditions deteriorate and have had your rights trampled upon. Almost all of you are worried about the future, because there's lots of talk of scary things that may happen in the future, while the Grey Hats and the Galactics aren't committing to tangibly resolving this situation anytime soon. Even though this awful situation has already been going on for years. Your feelings are completely understandable. If I was in your shoes, I would feel exactly as you are feeling, and maybe I would have broken by now from the stress. Frankly, the Galactics have been disappointed at the lack of speed by which the Grey Hats move. Yes, certain things are happening in the background, but we think that public arrests and public disclosure should have started by now. We disagree with the narrative of the Grey Hats that their current plan is the only way. Galactics are considering taking more direct and open action, but there are several issues and potential risks and pitfalls associated with that. One of those risks is that if we push Earthlings into a love-based society, then it may not last. The last time we tried that was with Atlantis, and as you know, it fell. Still, we do understand that the level of suffering of Earthlings and Earthling children is completely unacceptable. So the Galactics are considering their options. And ultimately we will do what Source asks us to do, so praying to Source might be a more effective way to influence us Galactics than asking us directly. I have been arguing in favor of more direct intervention by the benevolent Galactics, but frankly, there are a lot of Galactics from a lot of races with a lot of viewpoints involved in this discussion. Unfortunately, I cannot guarantee that either the Galactics or the Grey Hats will resolve this situation at any time soon. So today I would like to talk about how to deal with suffering. The most important thing is to not suppress or judge or try to change your feelings. Instead, just consciously observe them. Yes, this is scary and challenging and potentially painful, but in the long run you will suffer more if you don't observe it. After all, then the pain or fear will go into your subconscious where it will make the world a bit more of a gray or scary place. Hakann discussed this in his message named, Hakann, the Observation Path. He shared that you don't necessarily need to spend an hour observing your feelings, often just a few seconds here and there is enough. You can fully welcome in your pain and fear, for example by thinking I welcome in my pain and fear and consciously focusing on it, but you don't have to do that. Just observing pain or fear for a few seconds, whenever it comes up, is already very helpful. Another part of observing your feelings can be asking if there's another feeling hidden behind your surface level feeling. For example, very often when there's anger, there's also fear or pain underneath. This doesn't mean that the anger is invalid, but it can also be good to observe the fear or pain. We are not fans of consciously trying to do something to make yourself feel better, if at that moment you are experiencing so-called negative emotions. We do understand it, and we might do the same if we were in your shoes, but it is better to just observe the pain or fear that comes up. That said, it is a good idea to not needlessly expose yourself to pain. If at the moment you feel fine, then you don't need to start consciously digging up old pain, or read mainstream news and get terrified or angry or sad by what you see there. If you want to do something because it makes you feel good, rather than doing something because it distracts you from pain, then of course that's fantastic. It is also very good to talk to people. 2 weeks ago Hakann shared a message titled Hakann, want a lightworker pen pal? If you don't have anyone to talk to, then there's people there who you can email and start a conversation with. Don't be afraid to share that you are suffering or are afraid, because almost everyone is right now. If you share that, other people will likely feel relieved that they're talking to someone who is also in the same boat as them. You can also journal. It's also good to realize that most of you are stronger than you think. Right now many of you may be thinking we won't survive another year like this, we need intervention by Galactics now. But while I agree that us Galactics should intervene, the truth is that the vast majority of you would survive another year like this. Yes, it may very well be a painful year, but the vast majority of you would survive. Give yourself the credit that you really can survive just about anything, because that's the truth. After all, you've already survived an unbelievable amount of psychological pressure. Furthermore, it's good to have the perspective that this, too, will pass. Very likely one day us galactics will have landed, the dark controllers will have been arrested, disclosure will have happened, and your life will be better than you can imagine right now. And your wounds will have been healed and your pain will have been soothed. This doesn't make your current pain any less valid, but there is some comfort in the thought that this current pain will not last forever. One day you will be free and you will have the option to physically reconnect with your star family. That I promise. Finally, it can be good to realize that the more you do your own spiritual work and observe your own emotions and heal your own trauma during this current period, the easier and the smoother your interactions will be with us galactics. Imagine being a benevolent galactic, which means you love everyone unconditionally and you would never use violence without a very good reason and you would never lie. Imagine also living in a society where everyone is like that. Then imagine observing Earthlings, who within your lifetime had public executions where they tortured people to death, and average citizens watched that spectacle for fun. That happened during your Middle Ages, and your Middle Ages are within the lifetime of lots of galactics. Most galactics have lifespans that are far longer than the lifespan of an Earthling. Can you imagine just how shocking and appalling it would be, for a being who loves everyone unconditionally, to observe a race of beings who enjoy watching someone get tortured to death? Yes, from your perspective that happened in the distant past, but from our perspective that happened during our lifetime. Rationally, we understand that Earthlings today are already a lot more evolved than people were back then. But even today, most Earthlings don't love those other Earthlings who have so-called bad opinions. From our point of view, you don't need to agree with everyone, and it's fine to protect yourself and others from direct harm, but everyone deserves love, no matter how lost they may be. Everyone also deserves to have free will, except in cases where they would directly harm someone else, and many Earthlings also don't agree with this. Many Earthlings support taking away free will from other people, such as via censorship or certain mandates or certain laws, even in cases where no direct harm is threatened. Frankly, there are benevolent galactics who are arguing that Earthlings should learn unconditional love first and achieve world peace first, before the Galactic Federation of Worlds should intervene on your world. This is not the majority opinion among galactics, but it is not an uncommon opinion either. Even on an individual level, most light workers don't love everyone unconditionally, which makes the contact a bit more challenging for us, from our point of view. You yourselves often feel a bit uncomfortable when talking to fellow Earthlings who are spiritually much less evolved than you are, and this can happen to us galactics too. We don't blame you for currently being less spiritually evolved than most of us are. We understand that this is just a result of us having been born in a loving society and you having been born on Earth. In fact, many of you are very old souls and you were respected or even revered galactics in past lives. And many of us love and respect you very much for having grown so much, so quickly in a world with so much darkness. Many of us wouldn't be able to grow as much as you have and remain as good-hearted as you have, had we been born on Earth. We are also not saying that unconditional love is a hard requirement for contact. However, we are saying that the more spiritually evolved you are, the smoother and the easier that contact with us will be, for both sides. So, my last point is, if you use this time to grow spiritually and observe your own emotions and heal your own traumas, then contact with us galactics will be easier and smoother. If anyone has any additional suggestions, feel free to share them in the comments. I do very much hope that either the Grey Hats or us galactics will start actually visibly helping normal Earthlings soon. I am arguing in favor of that position, but I can't make any promises unfortunately. I am sending you all my love and respect. Tunia.